Namaste yogis, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Kassandra and I'm continuing my elemental yoga series. Today we're going to focus on the element of water. So the element of water is associated with the second chakra, the sacral chakra, so a little bit lower than the navel, a little bit higher than the pubic bone. And often when I talk about the element of water, we think of water as a very calm and passive element. But the truth is, if you think of any element, earth, water, fire, and air, they all have the potential to be very calm, or they can be extremely turbulent forces of nature. So we are used to expressions like go with the flow, and that is certainly what we are going to be working with and trying to cultivate within ourselves today. But I do like to remind students that water is not just adaptable. It is not just receptive and smooth sailing. It can also be a really powerful, creative force. And water really does help us tap into our creative power. It helps us tap into our sensuality, as is the same thing with our sacral chakra. And it also has the message or the teachings for us to go with the flow and to adapt. So when changes or hardships come to us in our lives, we can either resist, bear down, and struggle, or we can embrace the quality of water and just learn to go where life takes us. And then on the flip side, sometimes we need to be the stronger current of water and we need to break through and cause things to happen instead of being receptive. So I really want you to decide what this element of water is going to represent for you. You might need to bring a little bit more balance to this element by learning to be a little bit more feminine, more receptive, more yin in nature. So tapping into the softer, receptive, and adaptable, go with the flow qualities of water. Or you might need to go on the flip side of that and really learn to be more directive and to tap into that deep inner power of creativity and sensuality within you. This flow, because it's working with water, we're going to do a lot of circular fluid motions, and it's going to be a mandala styled practice, which means we're going to be going around our mat. For this reason, at home, I think it'll be easier for you to follow along with me if you put your mat exactly the way that I have it. So instead of facing directly towards your TV or your phone or your laptop, just try to put it the long way so that as we move around the mat, you'll still be able to follow along. So we're going to start this class. I'm not using props. Again, I'm in Costa Rica. I didn't bring any props with me, but definitely maybe just have 2 blocks for some of the deeper hip openers. You might want to have them. And we're going to start lying down in reclined butterflies. So the soles of the feet come together to touch and the knees fall open. So water element associated with the pelvis. And if you think of the pelvis, that is where we retain a lot of our water. And this is a very feminine element and a feminine energy. So we're going to take the Yoni Mudra, which is very simple. You're just bringing your thumbs together and the index fingers together. So forming a little triangle shape. And we're going to place that right over the lower belly. So where the sacral chakra would be. If there's any discomfort in your low back, you can always just keep your feet flat on the mat and your knees bent. And I like to work with the bija mantra of the sacral chakra for this water element class. So the bija mantra is VAM, V-A-M. And we're going to do this silently on our own as you close your eyes and start to get grounded on your mat and start to let go and relax. You're going to take deep inhales through the nose, exhaling also through the nose. But every time you exhale, try to say to yourself that bija mantra, VAM, V-A-M. So an inhale of silence and an exhale, VAM. And just imagine, you can chant it out loud at home if you prefer. I like to normally just do the bija mantras in my head and feel that vibration and the breath travel all the way down to the low belly, low back, underneath your palms. Taking about 10 deep breaths right here. Tapping into your creative potential, to your inner wisdom, to your fluid and adaptable nature. And start to ask yourself what it is about this element that you need more of. In what ways can you go with the flow a little more? In what ways can you harness your sensuality, your creative potential? What is it about the water element that is so appealing to you? Once you have an intention clear in your mind and your heart, something that feels true to you, we're going to release it with a round of breath, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. Deep breath in. And releasing the Yoni Mudra. Help your knees come back in towards each other. Give it a big squeeze. So we will be doing a lot of hip openers in this practice. Getting into the hips, the hamstrings, the quads, the psoas. Moving slowly and mindfully. Let's make our way to our tabletop pose on hands and knees. Rock on up. Palms under your shoulders, knees underneath your hips. And actually for this variation, I'm going to bring my hands just a little bit further past my shoulders. Instead of doing a static cat and cow, we're going to integrate a child's pose and we'll add on to it. So as you inhale, drop the belly, lift the gaze. On the exhale, round your spine, chin to chest, and start to push your hips back to your heels in a child's pose. So really fluid, bend your elbows, inhale, lifting up to cow. Exhale, round, press it back, and keep going, flowing with your breath. Maintaining the connection of the tiger paws to the earth, so really pressing down through the fingertips and knuckles, taking some of the weight out of the wrists. And keep imagining your breath flowing all the way down to your low belly, low back, right into that sacral chakra, to the element of water itself. So if you'd like, you can add on to this, instead moving into a cobra or upward dog instead of your cow pose. So letting yourself come all the way forward, dropping the hips, lifting the gaze up, and then exhale, round, contract, press it back, keep going, just a few more rounds. This should feel silky and fluid. We are never rushing, not trying to avoid sensation. So common for a lot of people with the element of water or with any kind of blocked, stagnant energy in the sacral chakra is numbness. And this can be being physically numb, not feeling much, either in intimacy, or it can be just feeling numb and stagnant in your creativity in life. So we want to move in a way where we can start to be a little bit more receptive to feeling. Take your last one here. And we'll make our way to our downward facing dog. Tuck the toes, lift the hips up and back, and just wiggle around, get comfortable. Create some space, check into your spine, your hamstrings. Keep spreading the fingertips nice and wide. And start to ripple the spine, so as you lift the heels up, around, and then send it all the way back, little Shakti waves. There's really no right or wrong way to do this. Just try to undulate like a wave in the ocean. And we'll make that wave bigger from down dog, rippling all the way forward into your upward facing dog, lifting up through the heart, pulling the shoulders back. Exhale, downward facing dog. A few more, follow the rhythm of your own breath. You might be a little faster, you might be a little slower than me. No right or wrong way to do this one. So start to reclaim sensitivity in your body. What do you feel like doing? So take the last one. Next time you come into that upward dog, you can ground the pelvis for cobra. So bend your elbows a little bit and come up onto spider fingers a little bit wider and just wave your cobra side to side, creating a little bit more space into the shoulders. You can make this a little bit lower to the ground if this feels a little too much for your spine. Just keep breathing and feeling into it. And let's press back to an easy child's pose, like a little drop of water. Reach your arms back, forehead to the ground. 3 deep breaths here. And we'll make our way back. Downward facing dog. We'll begin our Mandala Float. So I'll be mirroring you. Just listen. Should be hopefully easy enough to follow along with. Extend your left leg up to the sky, bend your left knee, open up that hip, and maybe even start to look underneath your left shoulder and left armpit. So getting a nice juicy stretch through the side body, side of the waist. And you can straighten or bend that left leg, honestly, whatever feels good to you. Let's find our low lunge, left foot forward between the palms, back knee to the floor. So this is where you might want to have some blocks underneath each hand, otherwise fingertips stay down. As you inhale, you're going to lift and look up. And on the exhale, super slow, you're going to straighten the right leg and fold over the shin. Once more like this, inhale, drop the pelvis down. Like a bowl of water that you're tipping forward and back. Exhale, fold it in. Adding on, inhale to the lunge, curl the back toes under, lift the back knee off the mat. Come up a little higher on the fingertips as you look up. And keep the back knee lifted. Exhale, pyramid pose. Flex your right foot so the toes are pointing up to the sky. Keep a bit of a bend in your right knee and square your hips. Once more, inhale, runner's lunge. Exhale, wide pyramid pose. Inhale, lunge. You're going to spin your back foot parallel to the short edge of your mat. We're coming up for our warrior 2. So left foot is forward. You're bending into that left knee, pushing it open. Arms reach out nice and wide. Try to drop the hips down. So a little bit of stillness and stability. And we'll be moving to warrior 2 on the other side. So facing the other side of the mat, cross your left arm over your right, turn your right toes to the back of the mat, bend into your right knee, open up your arms once more. So you're in warrior 2, just on the other side. Keep trying to push that right knee open, ground the heels, hug into the midline. And at any point throughout this practice, you can come back to that mudra, to that bija mantra, inhaling and exhaling Vam. Let's circle the palms down to the mat. We'll take a very slow vinyasa, inhaling to plank pose. Exhale, chaturanga. I'm going to lower all the way for this one, but you don't have to. Cobra or upward facing dog. And we all meet downward facing dog. Tuck the toes under, lift the hips up and back. Shake out the neck, let your head be heavy. We'll go to the other side. So right leg rises, bend your right knee, open up your hip, and start to look underneath your right shoulder and right armpit. And you can straighten and bend that right knee, whatever feels good. Find your low lunge, right foot in between the palms, left knee down to the mat. Keep your fingertips either on some blocks or directly down to the ground. As you inhale, lift and look up. Exhale, straighten your right leg and fold deep into the hamstrings. Once more. Inhale up. Exhale, fold. Adding on to your runner's lunge, back toes curl under, lift the back knee off the mat, lift up. Exhale, pyramid pose, flex the front right foot. Runner stretch, inhale, let the pelvis drop down a little bit more. Exhale, pyramid pose. Into your runner stretch, warrior two, back foot parallel to the short edge of your mat. Keep your right knee pointing directly over that second and third toe. Extend your arms wide. A little bit of stability here, like a calm lake, calm body of water. Warrior two to the other side, right arm over the left, turn the right foot in, point the left toes out, open up the arms. So we're facing back the way we started. Circle the palms down, a super slow vinyasa. Inhaling to plank. Exhale, lower, either all the way or halfway. Back bend of your choice. We meet downward facing dog once more. So another mandala flow from here. Left leg rises to the sky, bend your left knee, open up that hip, and maybe come up onto your left fingertips this time and look underneath your left shoulder and left armpit again. So just adding an extra little layer of challenge to this one, a little layer of depth. Feel the fluidity in the pelvis, the buoyancy in the hips. And we're gonna come to a high lunge. So left foot forward between the palms, feet are hip width distance apart, and come up. We're gonna find that same Yoni Mudra, so the index and the thumbs together, and just place it directly at the low belly. Tailbone anchors down, bend a little bit into your back knee. Try to sink down a little bit lower. And then inhale, straighten your right leg. Just a few little pulses like this. Exhale, a little deeper to your lunge. Inhale to straighten the legs. Try to keep the pelvis facing forward. What is it about the element of water that you want to cultivate? Last time, deep bend. And let's reach our arms up. We'll take warrior two, open up your arms. Left knee is still aligned over those left toes. Dancing warrior, so you're going to reverse. Right fingertips forward, left arm back. Deep breath in here. And then exhale to extend. Left fingertips back. Right arm up and over, twice more like this. So engaging the obliques. Inhale, lean back. Exhale, lean forward, engage your legs. Last one, inhale, fluid moving through water. Exhale. Come all the way back, warrior two. Let's take our eagle arms. Swing your left arm underneath your right, binding once or twice. Lift and look up to the sky, and then dive down to the earth, to the inside of that left thigh. 5 deep breaths here. You might be able to push your left shoulder into your left knee and thigh to open it up a little more. You can always release your hands down to the mat if this is too demanding. Take one more full breath. Stay nice and low. Find your wide-legged forward fold. So pivot the left foot parallel to the top of the mat. And you can reach your arms forward. So I like to counter reach with the arms, rock the weight in the heels, rock the hips back. And bring the palms in line with the heels. Take your traditional forward fold. Soften the neck, soften the head. Walk the hands forward, lift and look up. And then walk your hands to the back of the mat. Downward facing dog, right foot steps back to meet the left. Lengthen out through the arms, through the legs. So you could take a vinyasa here if you'd like. For me, I just feel like skipping it out. I'd prefer to just hang out in down dog. And we'll go and do that sequence on the other side. So right leg rises up, bend your right knee, open up your hip, and you can come up onto your right fingertips. Start to look underneath your right shoulder. So just a deeper side body opening. Notice if there's any tension in the jaw and the shoulders. Ground your right hand. Let's step the right foot forward. We're coming up to our high lunge. Yoni Mudra. Thumbs and index fingers together. Make that little triangle shape near the pubic bone. Sink down a little bit deeper, both knees bend, and then inhale, both legs straighten. So we want to keep our pelvis facing directly to the front or the back of the mat, depending on how you're configuring this at home. So exhale to bend, inhale to straighten. You may even be able to close your eyes. Tapping into that creative force. One last time, bending into that lunge, straightening the legs, and then bend into your right knee, reach your arms up, and let's open to warrior two. Back foot parallel, front right knee bending generously, press that knee open. Let's do our dancing warrior. As you inhale, reverse. Right arm goes up and back, left fingertips move forward. Exhale, extended side angle, right hand back, left arm up and over. Twice more like this with your breath. Inhale, circle back. Exhale, circle forward. Last time. Nothing changes in the legs. Come all the way back up. Eagle arms on the other side, right arm underneath the left, binding once or twice. Inhaling to sky, exhaling to earth. So even though we are holding some poses, can you feel some of the fluidity in it? Not like fidgeting or trying to distract yourself, but just the flow of your breath, the flow of the fluids within you, within your body, the flow of your thoughts. Be receptive to the experience instead of trying to run away or change it. This is the element of water. We go with the flow. And we'll make our way to our wide-legged fold. So turn your right foot in, right toes in, and you can maybe reach the arms forward and rock back a little bit, or you can just go into your regular forward fold. So the hands will come in pretty much in the same direction as the ankles and the heels, tilting forward from the pelvis. Draw the shoulder blades down your back. Let your head be heavy like a bowling ball. And let's walk the hands forward. Spin to the top of your mat. Downward facing dog, left foot meets the right. Take a flow if you'd like. I'm just gonna leave it out. Don't totally feel like doing a bunch of vinyasas for this water element flow. But again, this is all about intuition and creativity, so you do whatever feels good for you. Let's find our pigeon pose from here. So you extend your left leg up to the sky and then step your left knee behind the left wrist. Right leg stretches back behind you, lifting up through the heart. So either have some blocks underneath the hips or underneath your hands. We're gonna inhale to push and lift up to a back bend, and then exhale, melt the heart forward and down twice more. So just like a wave, you inhale to rise, and then you exhale to lower and melt down, making an offering. Last one. Come all the way back up. After that third round, because we are working pretty deeply into the hips, you're welcome to just hang out here. You can fold all the way down for pigeon, or you can work on your mermaid pose. We are working on the water element. So for mermaid, you'd be bending into your right knee and catching a hold of the right foot with your hand. And you can either just work it from here. If you can, you're gonna wiggle those toes and that foot into the crease of the elbow. Left arm reaches forward, up and then back as you clasp the palms. And if this is too deep of a back bend for you, don't worry about it. You've got nothing to prove. I don't particularly feel like a mermaid when I do this. Don't know where the name comes from. Just take 3 breaths, whatever you're choosing to do. Now carefully release your left fingertips back down to the mat. Release the back foot down to the ground. If you're in your pigeon pose, lift back up. We're gonna move right away to a seated twist. So you can circle your right leg all the way out in front of you and cross your right foot over the top of your left thigh. Bring your right hand back behind you. Inhale, left arm rises up. Exhale, I'm gonna hug the thigh, squeeze it in, and look over the right shoulder. Stay nice and tall. One more deep breath. Unravel to look forward. Let's find Malasana. So uncross your legs, heels in, toes out. Bring your hands to your heart. Use your elbows to press the knees open a little bit wider. And draw your shoulder blades down your back. So I think I remember doing this pose in our earth element class. It's a very grounding pose, but it also does get us in contact with the sacral chakra. You might even flow it a little side to side. And let's find our downward facing dog. Ground the palms, step the feet back. Do any little intuitive movement here that feels good. And before we go and do that sequence on the other side, we're going to take a wide-legged fold. So step your left foot forward between the palms. Spin that foot in parallel to the short edge of your mat. Fold it down. And to get a little deeper this time, catch a hold of your big toes with your 2-piece fingers. As you inhale, lift and look up. And then exhale, bend the elbows away from each other. Fold it down. Just getting deeper into those hamstrings. Slow, steady breath. Like the waves of the ocean, moving in and out from the shore. Release the toes, lift and look up, and spin to the back of the mat, downward facing dog. So your right foot steps back next to the left, and we'll go to our pigeon pose on the other side. Right leg rises up, bend your right knee, and pigeon pose. So right knee behind your right wrist. Left leg stretches back behind you. Come up high onto the fingertips or maybe onto some blocks. Try to roll onto that left hip a little bit so you're keeping the weight evenly distributed. As you inhale, lift and look up. So preparing for a back bend. Exhale, fold it all the way down. Twice more, circling the breath. Come all the way up, or go into your pigeon pose or mermaid. So mermaiders, don't know if that's a word. If you're going into mermaid pose, bend into your left knee, catch a hold of that foot and see if you can wiggle it in towards the elbow crease. Right arm extends forward, up, and maybe back to interlace the fingers. And just breathe into that space you're creating. A really juicy stretch. Release the clasp of the hands, back foot to the earth. We'll move into our twist. So swing your left leg all the way out in front of you and cross your left foot over the right thigh so you can ground all four corners of that foot. Left fingertips down, inhale, right arm up. Exhale to twist, looking over your left shoulder. Staying tall and lifted. Breathe deep into the belly and low back, deep into the pelvic floor. Unwind to face forward, Malasana, heels in, toes out. So you can either do that first Malasana yogi squat that we've done, just like this. If you'd like to go further, you can bring, or see if you can bring your heels in together to touch, and then you can reach your arms back, holding on to the back of your heels. You might just stay here, or you can fold it down, trying to get your forehead to the earth. So a much deeper hip opener, and a really great stretch for the spine. If you had folded like me, you can ease your way up, downward facing dog. Plant the palms, step the feet, move any way that works and feels good. Wide-legged fold, step your right foot forward between your palms, spin those right toes in. And once again, catch a hold of your big toes with your two-piece fingers. Inhale, lift and look up. Exhale, tilt, hinge and fold. So elbows are moving away from each other. Without hyperextending your knees, keep a tiny little bend and pull up through your quads. Release the hold of your toes, lift and lengthen. Face forward, our last downward facing dog. Left foot back next to the right, stretch it nice and long. And then we'll bring our knees back down to the floor, swing your legs out in front of you. So I'll give you guys some options. You're either going to do waterfall with a block, which is just like supported bridge, but your legs are up, or you're going to do waterfall, but with your hands supporting your lower back. So a little bit of a deeper variation of this pose. We all begin the same way. Feet hip width distance apart. Knees bent, and the heels pretty close in towards you. And then as if you're coming into bridge pose, you just lift your hips high off the ground. You either put your block underneath you. If you can, you're gonna wiggle your palms underneath the sacrum with your elbows down. So your palms are supporting your pelvis, supporting that water element, that cup that is overflowing. And you may stay here, or you can practice lifting one and maybe both legs off the ground. And the legs I like to move them around a little bit. They can either stay up nice and tall, or you can do a bit of a bicycle motion, just whatever feels good. Notice what you prefer. About 5 more breaths. So this is not like shoulder stand. We're not trying to get our hips towards our shoulders. Keeping them on the palms. And if you had your legs extended, bend the knees and bring the feet back down to the floor. Release the hands and let yourself lower and come down. Widen your feet to the edges of the mat. Let your knees fall into each other. One last time, take that Yoni Mudra. Thumbs and index fingers together over the low belly. Thinking back over the intention you set for yourself at the beginning of class. Make an offering of your practice towards this intention. What is it that the water element can teach you? And when you're ready, we meet in Shavasana, our final resting pose. Begin to deepen your breath. Slowly waking back up, moving the extremities, Wiggling around, creating some space. It might feel good to pull your knees into your chest. And we'll come up to take a seat. Eyes can stay closed as you do this. Rest your hands on your thighs. Chin parallel to the floor. Notice how you feel now as opposed to when you first started this class. What has changed and shifted? What feels different? Let's close our practice with the chant of Om one time. Bring your hands, Anjali Mudra, at the front of the heart. We inhale to chant. Breathe in. Namaste. Thank you so much, yogis, for doing this water element mandala flow with me. I hope it wasn't too hard to follow along going around the mat in this way. Thank you so much for doing this practice and for also doing my other elemental classes. I've really gotten some great feedback on the fire flow and the earth flow. And then in a few weeks, I'll have the final one, which is the air flow, for you up on my channel. Please do subscribe to my channel if you don't already. It's an amazing free way to support yoga on the internet, free yoga on the internet. Thanks again, yogis. Have an absolutely wonderful day. Namaste.